Hello everyone, hope you guys are all well. Welcome to day 4 of the cold and flu prevention week. I hope you guys are all well. It seems like the weather is playing ball in that it's very wet. I'm not sure where you are, but here it's pouring down and cold. So bang on cue for kind of cold and flu kicking off anyway. But so I hope everyone's well. I'm just going to give those of you checking in, signing in, everyone hear me okay? Coming through nice and clear, no time delay. Someone give me a thumbs up, hopefully, I'm all good. So so welcome to day 4. So today we're focusing in on immune solution 4, which is all about kind of the oldest concept, I guess, in the whole field of medicine, which is prevention being better than cure. Hi Tamara, away from the Austrian Alps. Hi Tracy, hope you guys are well. So before we get on to today's content, I just want to say a big thank you for all your messages, all the photos you guys are posting up, all the messages we've had, all the comments we've had. It's really, it's really inspiring for us to get your feedback, and we're very grateful. So thank you for that. I hope everyone enjoyed yesterday's content and yesterday's video about vitamin and mineral supplementation. It was a really important one for me to try and just to debunk and do away with the myths and the uncertainties around supplementing with vitamins and minerals. Do we need them? What role do they play? How do they work? Because there's all these vested interests commercially, clinically, and all the rest of it. So I just wanted to provide a very evidence-based, commonsensical and effective overview of a select few supplements, vitamins, minerals that I think we should all be taking to plug the gaps, any gaps in our immune system, any gaps in the nutrients we're getting. So I hope you took that on board. I've got lots of messages from you guys saying you bought some, if not all, of those 3 supplements from the workbook that we discussed yesterday. So I'm really pleased about that, because it means we can kind of rest confidently knowing you guys are getting that extra support that the immune system needs at this time of the year. Hi Carol, hi Amanda, hi Rachel, hi Jenny, hi Deb, hi Carol, hi Christine, hi Kit. Hope you guys are all well. So now I want to move on to onto the 4th immune solution. And when we were designing this week, again, this was another one that jumped straight out of us. There was no question at all whether this immune solution was going to be in this week. It was a given, because of how impactful it is. And this idea, if you look back all the way to the dawn of Western medicine with Hippocrates himself in Greece, and going back even further than that into the traditional systems of medicine, in traditional Chinese medicine, in Ayurvedic medicine, the common theme across all these different camps is prevention being better than cure. This ounce of prevention being better than a pound of cure. And that's the whole remit of today. And we know, if we think about cold and flu season, if we think about our infection risk factors, there's a lot of things we can't control, but there's a lot of things we can control. And one of the things we can't really control is being exposed to a virus or being exposed to a bacteria. That's just blind chance. It's just bad luck. And we can't go through winter without being exposed to without being exposed to a virus or a bacteria. It's not possible. We're going to be exposed. Anyway, we're not going to be exposed is obviously through lockdown. And we know that's not a sustainable option long term. So we're going to be exposed. Whether it's handling the pump at a petrol station, opening a door, holding a cup, breathing in vapor that contains a virus in a workplace or a house or a school, we're going to be exposed to viruses and bacteria. But like we discussed in detail on Sunday, what the science tells us is that being exposed to a virus, being exposed to a bacteria does not necessitate an infection. That's the most important overarching concept of this whole week, is that being exposed doesn't mean we have to fall prey to an infection. And to stop that, we've kind of got 2 approaches to make sure to maximize our chances of not coming down with an infection this winter. We've got 2 approaches open to us. The first one is making sure that our immune system and our body is as robust as possible, making sure our immune system has got all of the building blocks, all of the raw material it needs to defend us against viruses and bacteria, and if we are exposed to a virus or bacteria, to make sure it's got the tools it needs to identify it, attack it, destroy it, and clear it before it causes an infection. And 80% of this week is about addressing that point. The dietary approaches, the rainbow diet, optimizing our sleep, using the vitamin and mineral supplements, using the herbal medicines that we'll discuss tomorrow. That takes care of the first point. That takes care of our immune capacity to destroy an invading virus or bacteria. The second avenue open to us is doing everything we can to actually stop a virus or a bacteria getting into our respiratory tract in the first place. And it's that idea of shutting the gate before the horse bolts, stopping the virus before it actually gets into into the body. And again, it's interesting, like a lot of the things we've spoken about this week, this idea of ancient science meeting modern research, because Nasya Therapy, if you've read the workbook, if you've seen the workbook, you would have got an overview of Nasya Therapy. Nasya Therapy is one of the oldest self-care practices within the whole of Ayurveda and Ayurvedic medicine. It's got 101 uses for everything from headaches to insomnia to stress to migraines to loads and loads of clinical indications. But one of the most important uses for Nasya Therapy is to stop viruses and airborne viruses and airborne bacteria getting into the respiratory tract. And I think Western research is supporting this. Western research is showing how effective this concept is at doing just that. And for me personally, I can't imagine leaving the house without practicing Nasya Therapy. The whole field of self-care is all about maximum gains for minimum effort. And it doesn't get more minimal in terms of effort and more maximal in terms of gain than Nasya Therapy, because it takes about 3 seconds to perform and it becomes a habit. In the same way that most people, you can't imagine leaving the house without brushing their teeth in the morning. If once you get Nasya embedded, I can't imagine leaving the house in winter without practicing Nasya Therapy. It's just a habit. You just don't leave the house without doing it. So why is it so effective? So Nasya Therapy is literally the application of a lubricating source, so an oil, into both nostrils. It could be a standard oil or it can be a medicated herbal oil, and I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a minute. But why is Nasya Therapy so effective at stopping viruses and stopping bacteria getting into the body? Why is it so effective at stopping infections? It's based upon the way our respiratory system works. So about 70 to 80% of the air that enters into our lungs enters into it through the nostrils. We breathe in most of the air through our nostrils. That's important because about 80 to 90% of the way viruses or bacteria enter into the body is through the air we breathe. Okay, so we've got most of the airborne viruses and most of the airborne bacteria that are going to cause infections are entering the body through the air we breathe through the nostrils. Okay, because of that, the body has a very effective inbuilt system to stop those viruses entering the body. So inside both nostrils, there's something called a mucus membrane. Okay, and that mucus membrane secretes the right level of thin, clear mucus. And what that does, it keeps the inside of the nostrils sticky. So it essentially acts as flypaper. So when we're breathing this air, through the nostrils, every 14, 16 times every minute, if the mucus membranes of the nostril are really sticky, are really lubricated, then any viruses, any bacteria, any allergens that are contained in the air we're breathing, they stick to the side of the nostrils. They stick to the mucus membrane. So the mucus membrane catches the virus or the bacteria in the same way that a flypaper catches a fly. Okay. Once it's stuck to the inside of the nostril, the immune system then mounts an attack. It identifies the virus. It attacks the virus, destroys the virus before it gets into the respiratory tract, before it gets into the throat, into the lungs, into the sinuses. So the body has an inbuilt system to stop infection-causing pathogens getting into the body. But it's got a bit of an Achilles heel, and that Achilles heel is that in winter, when we need it most, it dries out because the air is colder in winter. And as the air gets colder, the mucous membranes get drier. And I'm sure most of you, listening have been on a relatively long flight. What happens if you're in an aeroplane for 4, 5, 6+ hours where we're breathing in air-conditioned, cold, dry air? Our nose gets really dry and really kind of scratchy. And that's why we get so many infections after a flight, because one, we're breathing in circulated air, but two, the mucous membranes dries up. And that's what happens in winter. Because the air is colder, the mucous membranes naturally dry up. So that means that the membrane becomes less sticky. So that means when we're breathing all this air in through the nostrils, more viruses and more bacteria can actually get past the mucous membrane and into the respiratory tract. And once it's there, it's obviously got more chance of causing an infection because it can begin to proliferate. So it's absolutely sacrosanct that we do everything we can to keep the mucous membranes in the nostrils sticky, okay? And that's exactly what Nasya Therapy is, okay? Nasya Therapy is about the artificial lubrication of the nostrils. So what that means is that if we, when we're brushing our teeth, we keep the Nasya Pot, and I'll talk about it in a minute, we keep the Nasya Oil in the bathroom next to our toothbrushes. So when we clean our teeth, once we finish cleaning our teeth, that's an inbuilt habit. It's just a case of bang, bang, it takes 2 seconds and you're done, okay? So by the whole focus of this immune solution is about the artificial lubrication of both nostrils every day before you leave the house. Because that means when you're filling up the car with petrol, when you're in school, in work, in the coffee shop, whatever you're doing, if someone is around you who does cough, sneeze, and if you do breathe in that virus, it's got significantly less chance of getting past the nostrils into the actual respiratory tract. So it's hard to overemphasize how significant it is upon reducing our infection prevalence rates. It's profound, particularly if you then throw into the equation a mask, because the mask is blocking some of it. Any that does get through the mask is then got to get past the mucous membrane. And if it does get past the mucous membrane, we've still got this turbocharged immune system to deal with it. So we've got this kind of 3-pronged attack at the moment. So how do we practice Nasya Therapy? So there's 2 ways of doing it. One is to use just a standard, top quality culinary oil, or the other is to use a medicated oil. But you don't need to use a medicated oil. You don't need to use a medicated oil because often for a lot of people that's a barrier. It's like you've got to order, you've got to wait for it to come. There are added benefits of using a medicated herbal oil, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But all you kind of need is something like top quality extra virgin olive oil or top quality extra virgin coconut oil. They're the 2 we recommend because they've got excellent viscosity. Their stickiness is optimal to catch to keep the mucous membrane in the nostril really well lubricated. So it's literally a case of getting your extra virgin olive oil. You can use a cotton bud. You can use your finger. It's not unhygienic if your hands are clean. So all you've got to do is get your cotton bud, you dip it into your extra virgin olive oil. You obviously only use it once, so there's no risk of contamination. And then all you need to do is lubricate the lower section of your nostrils. If you hold your nostrils and move up, you'll find the bone. Okay, you don't need to lubricate the nostrils above the bone. You need to lubricate the lower section, okay, before the bone starts. So you've got your cotton bud, you've dipped it into your oil. It's then just a case of 1, reverse it, don't dip the other end in, reverse it so you've got the clean end, dip that back into the oil, do the other one, and then once you've done that, just give the nose, I've got a very big nose, so it's more work for me, but give your nose a really good rub. So if you imagine you were using an oil that was fluorescent orange, if you were to shine a torch up your nostril, what you want is the whole of the lower part of the nostrils completely covered. You don't want any areas where the oil isn't there, because that's an area of weakness. So you want to, you don't need to use, you need to use hardly any amount. It shouldn't be dripping out your nose. You shouldn't have to sniff it up. It's just a very light lubrication. Okay. So, but the key thing is, once you've done it, is you do want to give the nose, the nostrils a massage to really, really penetrate all the areas. Okay. And then that's done. So it's literally bish, bosh, bash. Okay. So it's literally 3 seconds. And it's great for kids. We don't do it so much in spring and summer. There are other great options for using this approach for managing hay fever, because it's exactly the same approach. If you can stop the allergens and pollens getting in, they can't cause an allergic reaction. But that's another topic. But this time of the year, our kids never leave for school, and our youngest never leaves for nursery without me lubricating their nostrils, ever, without exception. Because it's just so powerful for stopping it getting into their little lungs and their respiratory tract. So if you've got kids at school, uni, college, nursery, whatever, this is an absolute no-brainer. So you can go out, if you haven't got extra virgin olive oil in, or you haven't got extra virgin coconut oil in, you can go out to the shops and buy that today. It's simple, it's easy, but if you want to kind of take it to the next level, what you can do then is use something called a Nasya Oil. So within Ayurveda, there's a handful of oils which are made of strong herbal medicines that are specifically designed for Nasya therapy. What do they bring to the table above and beyond using a culinary oil? What they bring to the table is that the oils, so these are the Nasya oils, they've got droppers like that. So what you can do is you can actually drop it into your nostril with the pipette, okay? Or you can just get your cotton bud and you can dip that in like so. It doesn't really matter. But what the Nasya oils are formulated in a way to make them, one, to make sure the viscosity, the stickiness is optimal, but more importantly, the herbs, these are super, super, super concentrated. They're really, really strong. So you put all the herbs into a vat with a carrier oil like sesame oil, and you reduce it down so that it's really potent and strong. And the herbs that go into the oil are antimicrobial. So they're antibacterial and they're antiviral herbs. So when you lubricate your nostrils with that, you've got the stickiness to actually catch the pathogens, but above and beyond that, as soon as you capture the pathogen with the stickiness, because the oil uses clinically proven antibacterial and antiviral herbs, you've actually got the herbal compounds themselves destroying the bacteria or virus rather than just your immune system. So you imagine you've got a virus, you're breathing it in, it's stuck to your mucous membrane, your immune system mounts an attack to destroy it, but you've also got these very strong antiviral, anti-herbal compounds in the oil that's also destroying the virus. So it definitely does bring, you definitely don't need it, but it definitely does add another, it's hard to quantify, but probably 40% extra efficacy into the equation, I think, because it helps to shore up the immune system's ability to destroy that virus or destroy that bacteria. So if you look in the workbook, so the oil you need is called Anu oil, A-N-U, Anu oil. That's the name of the Nasya oil that is used at this time of the year as an antibacterial, antiviral. If you look in the workbook, there's a web link to where you buy these. Okay, it's called Triveda. They're a brilliant producer, and you can get the Anu oil from them. All you need to do is you just literally click on that link, put it into your website, into the internet, and it will take you straight there. Okay, so but don't feel you need to buy that. You definitely don't need to buy that. You can just use the reason Nasya therapy is so effective. The most important thing is to keep the mucous membrane sticky. That's the most important thing, because you've got to work. You've got to catch the virus. All this does it just makes it slightly more effective. Okay, great for children. So the fourth immune solution of the week is all about prevention, and it's trying to cultivate a habit. You know, behavior change research tells us it takes 21 days to embed a habit so that it's unconscious. In the same way, we don't think to ourselves, oh, I'm leaving the house, I've got to brush my teeth. Or you don't think to yourself, it's bedtime, I'm going to brush my teeth. It's automatic. The brain doesn't need to think about it because it's a habit. That habit forms in the brain neurologically after about 21 days. So if you can keep some olive oil or some anu oil or whatever in your bathroom with a pack of cotton buds, if you can associate the two, that's a great way of making healthy habits, is you associate one with the other. So you brush your teeth, that's the cue to use your anu oil. If you can do that for 21 days, it will then become a habit like it is for us, where we don't even think about using Nasya Therapy. It's just a standard part of life. And if you can do that, then you are having such a big impact upon your infection, your risk factors, because you're supporting your body's ability to not let them get into the body. So the fourth immune solution, the fourth challenge, if you like, is to do that. Is not just to think about it or to think it's interesting or what a great idea, but to actually get your cotton buds, get your oil, stick them in the bathroom, and if you go out today or as of tomorrow morning, don't leave the house in the morning without lubricating your nostrils. Okay, we advocate and use this in clinic all the time at this time of the year. Anyone that's got a weakness or is prone to cyclical infections, colds, sore throats, flus, sinusitis, this is just a mandatory part of the treatment plan. So please, if you can try and keep this going, it's incredibly cheap to do, it's incredibly quick. If you could try and do that every day between now and April, I would bet a lot that it would make a very, very significant impact upon your risk factors. So please do that one. But remember, the whole aim of this week is that it's a cumulative. So I know I'm giving you quite a lot of information, but don't forget the other ones. Keep assessing your diet. Are you getting in all the colours at most meals? Keep an eye on your sleep. Is your sleep good? If it's not, how am I going to manage it? Keep the vitamins and the supplements going into the body. Protect yourself with the Nasya Therapy, and tomorrow we add in the fifth and final immune solution, which is probably the most powerful in terms of actual quantifiable impact, where we'll be talking about herbal medicines and using herbal medicines as a preventative. So obviously, and in the workbook as well, as a prevention, there's obviously the obvious things to talk about in terms of washing your hands. That goes without saying. But the other one that's interesting is what they're talking about in America now, this head curfew. Because I said about, 80 to 90% of viruses and bacteria get into the body through the nose. The other way it gets in is through the eyes and through the ears. So you've got a virus on your hand. We know the coronavirus can stay on the skin for about 8 hours. It's on your hands. It can't do any damage there. It can't do any damage. But you rub your eye or you scratch your ear, that's how it enters the body. So they're saying we should be inducing, a 100% curfew on the head, touching the head or face with that, unless our hands are scrupulously clean. So if we're doing that, and we're doing Nasya Therapy, and we're wearing a mask, we're having a massive impact upon stopping viruses getting into the body. They do get into the body. If we're using these approaches, we should have a turbocharged immunity that's able to destroy them. And if we do that, that's why we can make such a big impact upon reducing our risk factors for cold and flu infections this winter. So I hope that's helps. I've got a couple of questions here. Katie, I use a Neti Pot and feel that dries my nose out. Maybe I should not use that in winter. Yeah, so the Neti Pots are brilliant. Neti Pots, got one here somewhere if you don't know what a Neti Pot is. There's our Neti Pot. So Neti Pot looks like that. So you plug one nostril with saline water and it flushes out your sinuses. It's brilliant for clearing out. Debris, for clearing out any pathogens in the nostrils. But typically after Nasya Therapy, you want to lubricate your nostrils because it can dry out. Obviously, it washes out the mucus. So I would definitely continue with Neti Pots because they're brilliant. But I would just make sure that you always lubricate your nostrils after doing that. Okay, for sure. Bamboo cotton buds, so no plastic in the sea. Yeah, bamboo. There you go. I thought someone might comment on that. where you buy the medicated oil, if you go to the workbook, you'll see it in there, but it's Tri-Veda. You can also get them from Ayurveda Pura, but it's all in the workbook. With the Nasya oil, when you use the dropper, do you then sniff? I saw an Ayurveda video showing that you sniff. Yeah, so Nasya Therapy is also a clinical treatment. You can have it done in clinic for different pathologies and different problems, and that way you often want to sniff because you want it to get right up into the upper respiratory tract. But we don't. That's slightly different than what we're talking about here, because we don't want it right up here. We want it here. Okay, so you don't need to. I don't personally. When we're performing Nasya therapy to people in clinic, we use droppers because you can get it further up. But personally, when I'm doing it to myself or the kids in the morning, I don't use that because it's hard to quantify how much comes out. Like if you press the dropper, and if you can see that, quite a lot comes out, and it can run down. You often have to sniff it up. It can go down the back of the throat. So I just prefer the cotton buds because you can control it much more effectively. So I wouldn't worry too much about the droppers. I just use the cotton bud. When using the oil in this way, does it affect the sense of smell? It doesn't affect the sense of smell at all. It doesn't affect the olfactory nerves in the nose in any way, shape or form. Actually, there's treatment protocols for using Nasya therapy to support loss of smell. So it won't have any impact upon the sense of smell. Can you use the silver birch oil we made in the foraging course? Yes, you can. You could use the silver. I haven't thought about it. You could use the silver birch oil. The silver birch oil is indicated for topical use, but you definitely want to be 100% sure it's not getting into the sinuses. Okay, so you remember it's just the lower part of the nostrils. If you're keeping it there, it will be absolutely fine. Holly, great if you're getting on the aeroplane. Yeah, so if you're going on flights, if you're going on flights at any time, Nasya therapy is mandatory. If you're going on a flight now with COVID, then it's a no-brainer. And you don't want to be doing it once, you want to be doing it kind of every hour. Keep the nostrils so heavily lubricated that nothing can get through. Okay. Seema, is Nasya only done in the day? Is there benefits of doing it at night before sleep? Yeah, so interestingly, Anu oil, and this is why it's so hard to kind of refine this stuff down, because you talk about one topic and it kind of spirals out or snowballs out, because Anu oil is also clinically indicated for insomnia. And actually in the Ayurvedic Mentor, we'll be talking about this in more detail next week, but Anu oil is clinically indicated for insomnia because of the herbs that are in it. So doing it in the morning and in the day is a great way for preventing viruses getting into the body, but using it in the evening before bed is a brilliant way of facilitating sleep. And we could have quite easily talked about that yesterday. Why? Because the olfactory nerves in the nostril, are directly linked to key areas of the brain that are linked to regulating our hormones and our sleep pattern. So yes, Seema, you can do it in the night before bed as well. Very, very good for sleep. Okay, but we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. What about oiling the ears? Yeah, oiling the ears. So that's another discipline within Ayurveda that is very strongly indicated. You can oil your ears with olive oil again, but it still doesn't negate the need to not touch your ears unless your hands are clean or whatnot. But you can oil your ears absolutely. Would anu oil be good for brain health? Anu oil is the primary Nasya therapy for brain health. So if we're talking about virtually any head or neck condition, anu oil is indicated for. The only thing it's not indicated for is things like brain tumours, ENT, ear, nose and throat tumours, or if you've got open wounds in the nostril, if you've got bleeding polyps or things like that in the nostrils, you can't use it. But other than that, things like headaches, things like migraines, things like Bell's palsy, things like Parkinson's, things like tremors, anything that's in the head or neck up, anu oil is clinically indicated for. Okay. Helen, there's another nasal oil that you've previously spoken about, but I can't remember what the name was. That one's called Chabindu Oil, Shabdinu, Chabindu Oil. And that one is used if you've got congestion. So if you've got, you know, heavy congestion, you don't, this is preventative. If you've got a lot of sinus congestion, a lot of build-up, you don't use this. Chabindu oil is the one you use if you've got congestion, okay? So that's another oil, okay, so that's a different one. Rachel, is it called anu Italian oil? Yeah, so anu oil, there's a few different variations. Another slight variation, it's the same oil, it's a different title. Rachel's put up, it's called anu Italian, which is exactly the same. That's anu, it's still anu oil, okay? But if you follow the link in the workbook, you'll, Holly's just put it up, there you go. Holly is actually in Australia. She's got for a variety of reasons, she had to go out to Australia, so it's very late in Australia there. So Holly's past her bedtime. But hello, Holly. So please, all of these 5 immune solutions are so important, and you can't prioritize one because it's like that burger analogy. You take one out of the equation, you lose more than a fifth. But this is such an important one. Please, 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 just do it because it's so quick, it's so simple, it's so safe, it's so easy. And anyone you know that will benefit from this who's not in this week, just tell them. The other stuff's a bit more complicated. Just share this much. The whole aim of this week is to impact upon as many people as we possibly can to help people change their health profile. So anyone that you know will benefit from this, please, please, please share. But other than that, thank you for joining us. I'll be live tomorrow at 12 to talking about my main passion, which is herbal medicine, and particularly a herb called astragalus, which is clinically proven to reduce the number of winter infections people get, and which is profound research. If anyone saw yesterday, I posted yesterday evening a brilliant recipe for apples, a spiced apple recipe, which is brilliant if you've got an apple glut, so check that out. But other than that, have a lovely day, protect your nostrils, and I'll see you all live tomorrow at 12. Take care, everyone.